Welcome, everybody. This is Epic Conversation number 7 of 2022. Today, I'm here with fellow coach and friend Joan Claire. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is so fun, Heather.
Yeah, well, Joan and I always have a good time talking. We were just joking that we could just talk all evening, but we better push record so other people can hear what we're saying, right?
Right. Yeah, I forget it's evening over there. What is it? Almost dinner, almost five, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's pushing dinner time, and it's my
Mm.
daughter's birthday, so
Oh,
we're gonna have some
yay.
cake with dinner tonight.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. How old is she
Yes.
turning?
She's turning 12.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, my
So,
daughter's 12 already. That'd be awesome to get our families together and hang out. I bet we have a lot in common. The
right?
coach,
Someday. Let's put
personal
that on like
development junkies. Yeah.
we need like a double family vacation, right? So we can like dive in
Oh,
with each other. That would be so fun. That's
that
officially
would
now
be,
on the bucket list is
yeah.
a
Hawaii
field
or
trip.
like on the Nature Conservancy property, something like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we'll have to go into the details of that later. That sounds so
Yeah.
fun. But today I would love to talk about you and the
Mm.
work you've been doing and your inner work journey. And I did recently a abundance workshop with you and learned so much about myself just from being around you. So
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, thanks for that. So how about we start off with you telling us a bit about who you are, what you do, how you got into
Yeah,
coaching, that kind of thing.
for sure. Yeah, this could be a long spiel if you don't cut me off. So yeah, I'm a coach, wife, mother of three. I have a 12-year-old daughter, 10-year-old son, and a 4-year-old boy. Um, my 4-year-old's home 3 days a week, so I spend a lot of time with him still and get a lot of joy just being with him and going to the park and reading to him. A wife to David, as you know, who's also in Creator Circle. Yeah, I guess I think of myself as a coach and healer and self healer, and just working on creating myself and just being present to myself, growing in love for myself, connecting with God, and that's kind of what I do these days. as far as
Yeah.
as far as what I do, just up to different projects as a coach, but those are, I guess I would say, are my main roles. I could give you the first part of my declaration, which is
I would
who I am.
love to hear that.
Oh, just the first like five or six statements, because I feel like I've been internalizing them more. And so I think it's fun to share. But I shared it with my coach recently and thought it was amazing. So yeah, I'll just share. I am the peace of Christ, unconditional love, joyful and playful service, constant gratitude and present moment consciousness, and instantaneous forgiveness.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm obviously not always those things, but it does help me. Like recently, my husband's been sick, as I mentioned, and he just seemed a little bit more on edge and kind of like snappy when I asked him a question. And so I was like, okay, I'm instantaneous forgiveness. So don't get annoyed that he seems to be kind of short or, and I'm sure I'm not with that way with him a lot of the time too. So it just helps. It reminds me of just something to come back to. Like this is who I am, right? So
Yeah, no, what a
fulfilling.
gift to yourself and the people around you, right? And now to
Yeah,
us
for
that you shared it
sure.
with us. Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you don't already know, so Steve Hardison is somebody that we both kind of follow the philosophy of, and I don't know if he came up with it or this is just part of that's where we learned it, right? This
Yeah.
making declarations, right?
Right.
About
Yeah.
who you are, creating yourself, who you want to
Right.
be in the world, right?
Right.
And I call it being the source of what you crave, right? This process
Mm,
of noticing what we would love to have more of in the world and then declaring
mm.
that we are it,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So
Being the
it's
source of what we want in the world. Yeah.
yeah. So we're not just
Yeah.
making it in ourselves either, right? Like everything that you stated, you're bringing it to the world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's who I am for myself first and foremost, for God, to and from God, with my family, people I meet. So, I mean, it's obviously a journey. I don't feel like I'm all these things 100% obviously, but starting to feel like it's becoming internalized more, not just kind of something to recite, but something to be and to come from. But
Yeah,
yes.
the reciting it every day is what helps us access it in the moment, like you mentioned with
Mm,
your husband.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, the fact that I can even say it, right, is progress. I mean, I could say much more of it, but um, yeah, the fact that when you memorize it, it's something that you can continually go back to. Whereas if it's like a document that you kind of keep off in the corner, it's not accessible, right? So
Right.
even though we want to internalize it, it is helpful to have it memorized to access it continually.
Yeah, the power's
So,
in the repeating, right?
hmm
I
yeah.
have ease is like my ease and epic are my favorite words.
Mm.
And I've gotten to the point now. I wonder how long I've been saying ease. That would be a cool thing to know. But as soon as I feel, it's almost like the first fast heartbeat. It's gotten so fast now. It's,
Uh,
you feel a little tightness in your chest, a little like
yeah.
there's a little arousal, and I say ease in my mind and I ease back down,
Awesome. It's one of
right?
my, yeah, I love that word too. I have it in my document in connection with Hawaii, actually.
Wow. That's
So
a very
yeah,
easeful place for sure.
yeah. So I think of like being out there in the water, like that's ease, like surfing and coming from a place of flow and not trying to control life, just being in the moment. So I
Surrendering
love
to
that.
the waves, right?
Yeah,
That's
for
what you
sure.
do.
Being a surfer, not a controller in life. So
Yes, I said I went in the water, went to Hawaii recently, right? You predicted that
yeah.
we would say something about this. I went to Hawaii recently, and I had actually had a panic attack while snorkeling when I was on a cruise. It was like a decade ago. And you were supposed to snorkel above all the coral but not touch it. And I
Okay.
couldn't tell how far away it was. Like
Yeah.
under the water, like the depth perception is different, right?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
just couldn't tell. And like I couldn't sense where everybody was and where the
Uh-huh.
coral was and where the boat was. And
Right.
so at some point, I just freaked out and climbed on top of my husband, Sam. And then he stepped on the coral that we're not supposed to touch. So I created the thing. That's what we do, right? We create the thing that we're trying to avoid.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I had this story about snorkeling that I'm going to have a panic attack. And so I went snorkeling last summer and that was okay. But this time in Hawaii, I was so determined. I'm like, not going to leave this beach
Mm.
without doing it. Everyone's telling me how beautiful the fish are, right?
Mm.
So I did
Yeah.
it. I said ease the whole walk
Yay.
in,
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
walking in
Yeah.
and I'm having ease. And
Good
it's
for
my
you.
practice of saying ease, really,
Nice.
right? For the last
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years, I don't know how long,
Oh,
that
amazing.
allowed me to just walk in. It took me, I had
Mm.
stood for a while with just my feet in, right?
Yeah.
But then I walked all the way in and then I put the snorkel on and snorkeled,
hmm
I don't know, for an hour.
Ooh,
Like,
nice.
you
That's so
know,
great. Did you get to see some cool fish? And
yes,
yeah, I
I
bet.
um got to see some amazing fish and then I also got to see the shore, like the island from out, because I went pretty far out, like swim, swim,
Mm.
swim. And I it,
They're
it
like, come back, Heather. You're
yeah,
like
I was
Moana
with
going
two
up.
other people. I was not by myself, but I didn't climb on anybody. But I got that perspective too from being out in the water and looking back on the
Looking back at
islands.
the shore, I love that too.
And
Looking at
I
if the mountains are there or anything. Yeah.
it was like an unexpected um
Bonus. Mm.
bonus. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go see the fish, and then I just got to see this island. We were kind of in a bay, so it was all around.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
it's
You're
always,
making me want to go there right now.
yeah. But it was such a wonderful metaphor for the things that we're afraid of, right? And then we have this story about how it's gonna be. But I
Mm.
find that my best story, my best case scenario never even measures up to the reality. The reality
Mm.
is almost always so much better, right?
Mm.
So I was so worried about going out there and then I did it and I saw the fish, which is what I had been anticipating, the reason I went. But then
Mm.
the looking up, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
seeing
I love that.
just being out in the water and seeing the island, you're right.
Yeah.
It was
So when you
really
create that ease sense in your mind and repeat it, going back to repetition, repeating ease, probably while you were snorkeling too, you were saying ease
yeah, the whole
while
time
you
I
were
think.
enjoying it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
then it was like even better than you thought because you were creating that experience of ease, repetitive, repeating that. Yeah. That's
right,
beautiful.
right. No, it was heightened for
I'm
sure
gonna use
because
that word if I next time I go surfing in Hawaii.
yeah, I use it a lot with my kids.
Hmm.
Like the scream
That's
starts, I
what
hear
the scream.
the scream, like the
Yeah.
noise,
The
the
freak
the
out or
fight,
whatever.
the signs of the fight between the two boys, you
Yeah.
know. and I feel myself, like the arousal start. And I
Oh
say,
yeah, the
like,
fear. Yeah,
yeah, they're like, oh, I have to do something about it now,
I had that
or
yesterday.
how am I going to react? And
Right.
ease is the word that settles me back down so that I'm responding instead of
I love that.
reacting.
Well, I'm gonna remember that to use that word too, and I'll let you know how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah, what I've learned from doing that is that everything can be easy
Mm,
because it's my aroused state that
yeah.
is what makes things difficult. Because I noticed there isn't really much in my life that's actually like physically or even mentally challenging,
hmm
right? So like if I'm trying something new, it's like, oh, I'm gonna interview people and put them on
hmm
YouTube, right? Messaging people to invite them to the interview, that isn't particularly difficult,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Sitting here talking to you isn't particularly difficult, right?
No.
Posting the stuff on YouTube after it's done, none of it's
Yeah.
particularly difficult. But I
Right.
probably spent the whole last year thinking, wouldn't it be cool to interview people, right?
Yeah. Just
But
thinking about it rather than just breaking it down and
yeah,
doing
it
the
was
easy
it
thing of
was
each step along the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was my, fear about who I'd have to be, or I don't know, right?
Yeah.
All the stuff we put in the way. Yeah.
Brilliant four-letter word. Yeah.
Jeez, yeah. Yeah, so that I just went into a whole thing about my inner work, but I'm really interested also in how you got started with inner work. I'm fascinated with this
Mm,
switch between someone who doesn't, isn't a witness to themselves, or that's
yeah.
usually where we start, right, with inner work.
Yeah.
The switch to being like, oh, I can design this
Yeah.
I can design my way of being
Oh yeah.
versus being on default, right? So
Amazing.
that switch from default to design.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you for
interested in.
asking. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I remember it clearly. So I don't know if you know this about me. I think I told you, but I've had a journey with
Ah,
autoimmune symptoms, autoimmunity since like my second child was born in 2011. And it's autoimmune spinal arthritis. And it was just started as pain after pregnancy or even during pregnancy and like stabbing pain in my SI joint. And so I won't go into details about the autoimmune symptoms or the trials of that, but at times I could barely walk. And I had an experience with that in high school, actually, when I was on a drug and was really, um, I was like a state champion runner, and then I could barely walk my senior year because I was this drug that I was on for acne prevention, actually. Um, and so it was another experience of like, why is this happening? And, there were trials with that, with just like having two young children, trying to get them in and out of the car and like having pain where it just hurt to walk at times. Right. And so
yeah.
that was definitely difficult. And my mind was, I had never had any kind of personal development training or background, I think, other than maybe reading an occasional self-help type book or from my faith. I'm Christian, and for me, faith is part of personal development, really. But for me, it was like a space where I was just kind of like, everything is wrong. There were
Mhm.
other things in our family life that were challenging with my second child. He does continue to have emotional regulation issues and just some other challenging things. And I remember just being at my wit's end and like just kind of crying and telling my husband, like, why is this like happening? And just kind of in a complaining victim mindset kind of mode. And he said something like, this is what I do. Return, like, be grateful. And I don't know if in that moment he said, like, go read a book at the park, I'll watch the kids or something. But he had already started doing personal development, David had.
Well,
And, I just kind of thought it was interesting. I think he did it more for an entrepreneurial goal
yeah.
of helping him in his entrepreneurial projects. But for me, um, it was really just like, I want out of this like prison of feeling like everything is wrong and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
felt like I would just have kind of these emotional breakdowns sometimes, like, I don't know when is this going to end, this autoimmune thing, my son, this and this and this. And just feeling like, yeah, I'm in my own prison of everything outside there being wrong and I can't do anything about it. And
Yeah.
so when I started reading some books like Jen Sincero's You're a Badass, or like some Tony Robbins course like Ultimate Edge, that kind of got me started. I didn't really take it super seriously. Then I did like a Bethany Hamilton kind of personal development course when we moved here to Phoenix. And she's really all about like, what would you love to create, and has some really great stuff in her course. And so that got me into thinking about my autoimmune journey. And I actually had started to make a lot of progress, I feel like, with my mindset through some of that initial personal development material and her course. And so I thought I would share about all the diet stuff that I went through that helped me, and then my faith, and also the mindset piece.
Yeah.
And I did like a Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins course, and started a Facebook group for autoimmune women. And then I started coaching them because I just felt like I'm writing all these like blog articles and I don't have a sense if this is really impacting people's lives or like what they really need. So I started doing that, and then kind of just offering free coaching. And then I think David mentioned something to me like, you might want to look into what coaching really is, if you're going to say you're a
Yeah,
coach.
yeah.
So I Googled how to be a life coach, and John Strasser's Accelerate program teaches about how to coach from an insight method and enroll clients in the Prosperous Coach method. Enrolled in that and had my first couple paying clients, and decided to enroll for his paid program, and the rest is history. So that's kind of how it all unfolded. I don't know if that was longer than you wanted, but it just kind of began with this just like victim mindset of my health, family challenges, just feeling like this not loving what is,
Yeah.
not loving what is kind of mindset, and I didn't know that you could access this like shift in thought patterns. Like no one had ever shared that with me in a very deep way. I mean, I had heard like happiness is an inside job, or, but it just came kind of like maxims that didn't really have a whole lot of like
Right.
life application when you're going through something really tough. And
Yeah.
getting into coaching shifted all of that. It's just amazing how powerful it is. And, I of course still struggle with judgments and not fully embracing and loving what is, but now I have the awareness that like, okay, I'm not feeling well. What is the thought that's happening? And I can access the tools to shift that, on my own or with the help of my coach. So I'm really grateful for that. It's such an amazing just life tool to have access to that, and I know so many people probably go through life and don't even know that you're able to actually shift your thoughts. They're not truths. And,
Right. Right.
like we
That
think,
thoughts are tools, not truths. Yeah.
yeah, like we think our thoughts, like what we think is the truth, when
Mhm.
it's just amazing, how we're creating that in so many ways. And we don't see that because we're just kind of looking from our vantage point, and we don't see that there's another way to look at things. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I did the positive intelligence program too, and that's all about like everything is, you can either accept it or turn it into a gift and opportunity. So a lot of things have reinforced the coaching training and working with my own coach, and it's just it's great to see how it all fits together from a
Yeah.
different
I
perspective.
think what I am continually amazed at, and maybe I will be forever, is how
Mhm.
many ways there are to think. Right?
Mm,
So I think we
yeah.
we have our way that we think, and we know that some people have different opinions than us, right?
Mhm.
But we still are for so long, I'm so grounded. We don't realize that we have taken on like our parents' way of thinking, or this
Right.
combination of our parents and our teachers and our caregivers, or you could make a list, right? The shows we
Right.
watch, right? All these influences made you kind of who you are. And I call that the first mountain, this amassing of beliefs and
Mhm.
patterns and habits, right?
Yeah.
That we just got, you know?
Yeah.
And
Or
and
we took on ourselves, right? Like
we
we
took
had
it
an
on.
incident
Yeah.
and we
Yeah, yeah,
attached
yeah.
that meaning to that incident, and
Yeah.
wasn't our
Yeah.
parents' fault, but that's the meaning that we drew from that experience.
There's no fault to it, right?
Yeah.
It just is like a
Right.
mountain, right? Whose fault is a mountain? Like
Right.
not a
Yeah.
fault. It just is, right? It
Yeah.
is how it is. And but I find that so many of us climb to the top of that mountain because a mountain, it's like built of shoulds, don't you think?
Mhm.
There's so many, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is officially the way the world works, and so you must operate within,
Right.
this paradigm. So we all
Yeah.
climb to the top of that mountain, right?
Right.
Like you and your kids and having pain, and you're like, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it all. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do,
Yeah.
and so there's this process of like tumbling down that mountain into the valley of
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this sucks.
Right.
The way I'm operating,
Right.
it's taking me a place I don't want to be.
Yeah.
And so to me, coaching builds that second mountain that we
Mm,
design ourselves,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And so we get to pick all the foundational beliefs. And I think that's what I'm still continually amazed by is
Hmm.
how many like options there are, right? Like I can
Mm,
continually evolve the way that I think to put me in a position to succeed in whatever I want to succeed in,
yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
I can change every year if I want, you
Right.
know, and
Yeah, you have
evolve.
so much power within you to create that and face your fears too, really to see subconsciously what's holding you back. Sometimes it's not really clear, right? So we have to kind of dig a little deeper and face those fears that like Marianne Williamson says, we're more afraid of our success than our
Yeah.
what is it? I don't know what she
Right,
says
then
exactly.
failure or
Than
yeah.
failure, yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, that's something that yeah, we're working on as well. So yeah, lots of good stuff with personal development. Oh my gosh, could we're just like junkies. We could talk
I know. Well,
all day.
I want to hear about your experience. I know that you have been working with a coach
Hmm.
this year, and so I'm interested in how working with a coach, right? So you've kind of I think we all kind of start DIY, right?
Yeah,
With the personal development, we read the books and even like taking courses like you said online, like we all
yeah,
kind of go through that evolution. But then there's
right,
something about hiring a coach, right?
right.
That like levels up
Hmm.
that it's not even just the conversation with the coach. It starts before that when we put the money down or make the
Hmm.
decision to do it. We show up differently,
Right,
right?
for
We're like,
sure.
oh,
The
we're
commitment.
in it now. Yeah.
Yeah, the
So I'm
commitment goes
interested
up.
in your experience in deciding to hire a coach and your
Yeah,
experience, right?
for
In
sure.
having a coach versus, the DIY
Yeah.
way of interviewing.
Well, so yeah, my decision to hire a coach. So, like I said, I kind of left off where I was in John Strasser's coaching program, and as an alum, I'm
Yeah.
still in his program. I haven't been super plugged in, but in that program, that's 4 months, I began to dig deep, do some deeper inner work in that program, even the group coaching program, and realized I had a wounded inner child. I mean, I guess you could probably say we all have somewhat of a wounded inner child, but there are some specific incidences from childhood that I was brought back to that I only actually was brought back to initially after a fatal bus accident in Argentina during college. Like 4 people died in the middle of nowhere, and um, it brought back this memory from childhood that was really painful. Like again, not my parents' fault, but just kind of like a situation where I didn't feel like I needed them when I needed them, and it left some wounds. And so in doing that work, I realized this is something that I needed to face more. And it might be more of like a therapy kind of a thing than coaching in many ways, but I realized there was part of me that was needing me to kind of like come home to it in some sense. And so
Yeah.
that is actually a lot of the work that I've done with my one-on-one coach, Daniel Herner, is learning how to be that love for my kind of wounded or unfigured out self, and the part of me that sometimes has anxiety or some not feeling some peace at times, and just being that loving presence to her and slowing down my mind so that I can be present to her.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been really, it's not a language that I knew before working with him really. And so like my faith has been definitely my bedrock throughout my autoimmune challenges, but there was this missing piece of like I seek out God and to connect to God, but then I didn't really know how to turn that love that God loves me with back toward myself, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that was just, it continues to be that. I mean, still working with him a couple more months, I think, but this past year. But it's been a really transformational journey. There's been some ups and downs. I mean, initially it was just, I felt like a lot of the work that he was encouraging me to do was kind of what Steve Hardison does, is like facing your judgments of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that to me was just kind of like, this isn't fun. I want to do like law of
I
attraction.
know.
Like, let's listen to
Right,
awesome
right,
music.
right.
Tell me your tricks. Like, I want to like dance around and like say affirmations and visualize. And I do some of that stuff too. And that's actually going back to your question. I had asked Daniel about that before we started working together because I was intrigued, because I knew he had this kind of inner child background a little bit. as a former psychotherapist. And I was interested in the integration of the two, like
Yeah,
what's
how does that
important
work?
here. And for him, and he told me, this is before I hired him, that just like a lot of that inner child kind of work is kind of like warming up your subconscious, your heart, so that you can bring in the, that the visuals, the affirmations that you create for
Yeah,
yourself. Because when you're kind
yeah.
of pushing down this part of yourself that's not being fully heard, it's hard for the new creations, the new affirmations to go in. It's like
Well,
you're
some
blocking.
people say it's like putting icing on poop,
Right.
right?
That's another way. That's the
Yeah,
Steve
it's
Hardison
like
analogy, right?
you can put more icing on it. We can say all the affirmations all day long, but if you're still, you know, harshly
Right.
judging yourself, I
Right.
say, we're not actually scared of, like, for me, I'm not actually scared of like the failure happening. It's what I'm
Hmm.
going to say to myself after the
Mm,
failure happens. It's
of
how I'm going to
course.
treat myself,
Right. Because it's just neutral
right?
when you fail, right? It's what you attach
Most
the meaning to.
things
Yeah.
dissolve instantly,
Unless you die, unless you're
right?
dead, like,
Yeah, unless
you
like,
know,
but most, even like losing money, that it can just dissolve instantly unless I
100%.
keep it around and beat myself up with it,
Right.
right?
So
About it.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like we can, if I'm still having those harsh judgments under there, like I can put on as many pretty words as I want, right?
Right. It's not
But
going
you're
to do
still
much.
going to have that pain. You're just going to have pain and icing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And I see the pain, the judgments is like the dog shit, but also the emotions that are repressed, or the feeling of abandonment, or feeling like I'm not being fully, like I said, present to myself and my little girl, the way we talk about it, of my heart, like being present to myself, right?
Yeah,
And so that's another
yeah,
insight I've had throughout my coaching with him, is like, how can I truly be present to others if I'm not first present to myself?
yeah,
Like in the same
yeah,
way that, how can I truly love others if I don't truly love myself first? And I see how that actually plays out, because when I'm starting to judge my husband or my son or anyone, the way I diffuse that is by going within myself and starting to love myself more and activate the self-empathy. And in the same way it
yeah,
is with presence. I don't feel like I have as much of that transformational feeling of that completely yet, but definitely the empathy part, I definitely notice is so important. And I feel like that's kind of the essence for me of coaching and personal development, is learning how to fully love yourself the way you are completely. Give
yeah,
yourself that loving presence that, none of our parents were able to give us, no matter how perfect they were,
yeah.
no matter how magical our childhood was. Like, we all have some of that. So yeah, that to me is the beauty of something that I didn't fully feel like I got through my faith journey. That personal development has added on to that, is just this loving presence that I give myself, in connection to God as well. But
Sure.
love others the way God, Jesus says, love others, love your neighbor as yourself. It's like,
Mhm.
if you can't love yourself, then how can you truly love your neighbor, right?
Because it's
So,
all actually the same thing, right? It's we have all these things in the way of love, of expressing our love, right? And then
mm,
the same things are in the way, the judgments, or
yeah,
the patterns, whether I'm loving myself or whether I'm loving you or whether I'm loving a stranger, it's all the same stuff in the way,
right.
right? So when
Yeah.
we find those things, those judgments are, to me, there's so many misunderstandings that we create about the world, like
Mm,
misconceptions, right?
yeah.
That the world is this one certain way,
Mm,
right? And we can't see the whole spectrum of how the world
yeah.
is.
Right.
So if we get this one thing, if we address it
Hmm.
and dissolve it, get it out of the
Right.
way, then that's a place where we love everything more, right? Through
Mm,
that lens,
yeah, for sure.
ourselves, other people. And
Right.
so I think that's like the most profound thing for me about doing this inner work, is that it, like I told you, we went and saw uh Steve Hardison speak, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm applying the gold nuggets that I got from him to
Hmm.
every area of my life, right?
Amazing. Yeah.
So if you really show up for, for your coaching, you may work on one specific situation, but you can see how the beliefs developed, right,
Hmm.
in that situation, apply across the board,
Yeah,
so you become more free in every area of your life.
for
And
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
that's amazing. What's an example for you recently? I mean, I know you shared one with me in a recent conversation, where you
Right.
feel like
Well,
this applies
the
to
the
everything.
core thing that I have, the core what I keep coming back to over and over and over for like as for years is my default when something goes wrong or differently than I expected, the word stupid comes up. Like that
Mm,
was
yeah.
right? Or I was stupid, or you were stupid, or they're stupid.
Right.
It's like this core judgment I have that either someone's stupid or
Stupid.
not, and you gotta
Yeah.
know, right? And like if anything goes wrong, it's because there was some stupidity there, right?
Yeah.
I got it from somewhere. I remember,
Yeah.
dad saying it or whatever, him judging himself. Um, so I keep seeing that. First, I thought it was just me saying it about me when I made a mistake, right? I
Hmm.
dropped something. It could
Yeah.
be huge or little mistake, right?
Right.
There was always the, well, that was stupid,
Mm.
and it's like, ouch. Well, then I don't want to
Interesting.
do stuff
Yeah.
sometimes, right? I'm afraid to do stuff or take a risk because I'm going to call myself, it's inevitable. It's guaranteed
Mm.
that I'm going to call myself stupid afterwards.
Mm.
And I could even do a good job, I found, right? After I started noticing this pattern, I could do a good job, but then find a little thing that I could have done better. Oh, I'm still stupid, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Don't do
so,
that after this call. Yeah.
well, yeah, so I've been working on not doing that. I've been noticing it. And what helps the most is when I make amends. I hear the word and then
Hmm.
I apologize to myself. And there's a whole process of that, right? That I'm sure we're
Mm.
both familiar with.
Yeah.
But what has amazed me is that I had that judgment of other people too, people that I knew, people that
Mm.
I didn't know,
Yeah.
theoretical people, right? Like all the things. There was always a possibility that someone was stupid.
Yeah.
And freeing myself from calling me stupid has also
Mm.
freed me from from having that judgment of others and really
Yeah.
creating a separation, or playing the inferior superior game,
Yeah.
right, with others. Because that's
Hmm.
what we get into, when I
Yeah.
call
Like,
myself stupid, oh, now I'm inferior.
right.
When I call you stupid, now you're inferior.
Right.
And it just
Yeah.
creates a
Awesome.
separation. Yeah.
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 So that's an
So,
that's how that example is. It's when you turn that inward on your outward on yourself and get rid of the stupid judgments toward
yeah.
yourself, and you stop doing that to other people as well. Similar to
Yeah.
the self-love or the
Organizations, governments, right? Like it can apply.
yeah.
I apply
Although there was
stupid
an
to everything.
example today that I think we could agree is pretty stupid.
Right. Right. Um, but I always come back to this place. What has helped me the most, I think, is coming back to this place of knowing that I am everything. So every iteration in the universe, any duality, any description, it's also in me,
Mm,
right? So what I realized is first I tried to say, well, I'm not stupid. Well, sometimes I am kind of
yeah.
stupid, right?
Mm,
Like that was dumb, right? So what if what's actually true is that I am smart and stupid? And
mm,
what if I'm smart and stupid in every moment? What if
mm.
it's actually just neutral,
Yeah.
right? What if
Hmm.
I'm both dualities of every iteration, And if I
Yeah.
click them together, it turns out I'm just neutral.
Mm,
And to me, uh that when I come back to the ease of being neutral, right?
mm.
That's when it's like safe to play
Yeah.
because I can do something and it doesn't matter how it turns out because I'm always smart and stupid. It's just
Right.
neutral,
Right. Like
right?
if you called yourself smart sometimes, but not others, then it kind of
Yeah.
presumes that other times you're stupid, right? So if you're just
Yeah.
neutral all the time, then you're safe to make mistakes and it's all good, right?
I just
Had
am,
this, yeah,
right?
just
I
had a
just
talk with my
am.
4-year-old about that the other day because he's like, didn't want to go to school because I made a mistake. It's like,
Yeah.
trying to reverse that of like the mistake isn't a bad thing, it's how you
Yeah.
learn. And so,
No, we're
yeah.
just here to play, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
That's one of my I am statements too. Life is my playground.
Life is my playground, right? And you know, my favorite way to be is in unconditional loving regard. And how I
Mm,
define that is that there is nothing you or me, but you
mm,
can say or do to make me love you any more or any less.
I love
Right?
that. It's
You just
beautiful.
are. You just are loved.
I
I
bet
just
you
love
tell
you.
your children that too.
Yeah, and so I tell myself too,
Mm,
right?
I
And
love that.
that's when I'm
Yeah.
safe to play.
Yeah, for sure. There's no way there's nothing you can do that will withhold love from yourself. Yeah.
Right. There's no
Right.
way I can show up that will disappoint me,
I
right?
love that.
Yeah, I'm
Beautiful.
undisappointable. Yeah. Right?
Just created a new word.
Phew,
I
phew,
am
what a relief.
undisappointable.
Yeah, you can't you can't disappoint me anyway. I digress. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is abundance because I
Mm,
went to your wonderful workshop and it impacted me so much. And so, let's talk a little bit um, about abundance, but also we can, start at scarcity and how
mhm.
that is
Yeah,
not a fun place to play,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this has been something that I struggled with quite a bit, and at times struggle with too, but it's just this feeling of, yeah, this not enoughness, right? There's scarcity in me, there's scarcity in my world, finances, scarcity in love, scarcity in whatever, health. And for a long period, there's scarcity of health, right? I was not feeling well and unable to walk at times.
Yeah.
So for me, a lot of this abundance mindset work is about creating this abundance within yourself for
Mhm.
first and foremost, right? Like it
Yeah.
all starts within. So
Yeah.
you think that you don't have enough money, you don't have enough love, affirmations, people don't love you enough or like you don't have enough health because whatever, you're overweight or this and that. But the crux of it really is all internal, right? We get those
Yeah.
things, we get more love in our relationships or more money, more health, and we're still feeling scarcity because it really comes from your heart, right? How the
Mhm.
abundance there for yourself, the love for yourself, and the stability, the security, and with God. So for me, I feel like that's the crux of the abundance mindset is realizing that it's all coming from within. And it's kind of on this whole idea of creation too, right? Like
Yeah.
you can have an abundance mindset even if you're homeless under a bridge. I mean, I haven't had that experience, so it's kind of silly for me to say that you can when I haven't had that experience, but hypothetically, like you can create whatever kind of experience.
Yeah.
My husband and I had this conversation the other day about rain because he hates the rain. And I was like,
You
I
have
know
like no
Jamie,
rain.
we got rain this week. We got hail too. I can prove it. But like, so that's why we moved down here. And so I've had this kind of issue with him, like, well, you can create the rain to be beautiful and wonderful. Like, so
Yeah.
why can't you? Like, and it's like, well, we don't have to create every experience as like, and stay in that experience because we can create it to be wonderful, right? Like
Yeah.
a homeless
Yeah.
person doesn't have to be like, oh, I love it here. It's just, I got all these friends and I've got plenty of
Mhm.
resources and we can create an experience, but we can also change it. So
Yeah.
I guess this is I'm digressing a little bit, but it's like no matter where you are in your life, in all those areas, health, money, love, you can create the abundance that you're seeking now. And you can also want something more. Like
Yeah.
they're not incompatible. So
Yeah. I love the idea of abundance being like to have access to abundance. To me, what's useful is to remember it's there. Like ease is always available,
mm,
right? We can look at any situation, and I want to hold both dualities at the same time, right?
mhm,
So yeah, maybe there's a limit, right? And I
yeah.
have so much,
Mm,
right? Like that's to me, that's like the
yeah.
most real,
Like
you know?
when you say there's a limit, there's some lack. Is that what you mean by limit?
Yeah, so I mean, if we talk about, money, for example,
Hmm.
can I look at that there's a specific amount in my account right now,
Hmm.
right? So that's a reality. I can hold that, and I can just look at that and not look at anything else. And I can say, I have $1,000 and
Yeah.
I want all these things, and I only
Yeah.
have $1,000 and it's only going to buy one of them, right?
Right.
And we can live there. And
Right.
so many of us do, right? And I'm good at
Right.
that. I'm really
Yeah.
skilled at that, right? That's
Yeah.
the scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have to pretend that's not true to
Right.
also be like, oh my gosh, $1,000, that's enough to buy food for like a month,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah. It's like
And
gratitude in many ways, right?
yeah, like
Gratitude for what you have.
being able to see the abundance. We're not denying, right, the numbers or any of
Right.
that to be able to hold in the other hand. Man, I'm
Right.
so lucky.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
for
oh my
sure.
gosh, my husband gets another paycheck in 2 weeks,
Right.
right? Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, gratitude is such a big piece of abundance mindset because if you can't be grateful for what you have now, you're not going to be grateful when you do have what you think will make you happy and secure
Yeah.
and safe, right? So it's like it
Yeah.
starts now in the present moment. And you can also be grateful for what you're envisioning and have certainty and faith about that as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're only living in the future. I'll be happy when,
Right,
I'm a
right,
millionaire.
right, right.
It's like I'm happy now and I would like to make $1 million. And they're both, and that's fine. And that's great. Like it's like what would I love to create? What would be awesome? What would be cool? But I'm also happy now because I have all I need and I'm taken care of and I can serve people and I know I'm loved for myself. God loves me. I can
Yeah.
give love. So
Yeah, I have noticed that um, creation for me happens when I don't need it, when I would love it, like
mm,
you said, right?
yeah, for
And if
sure.
I'm in a scarcity mindset and I need it, then I don't
Mhm.
believe there's a part of me that doesn't believe it's available or I'd already have it, you
Right.
know? So I
Yeah.
imagine there's like an apple tree out this window right here,
Mhm.
but my blinds are closed, right? And I don't believe that there's apples on an apple tree outside, so I don't even look,
Right.
right? Much
Yeah.
less like look, open the window, reach my hand out and grab one.
Right.
Like there's these steps, right? That
Mhm.
I'm not even I wouldn't even consider taking because all I can do is say, I don't have an apple, 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 right?
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
practice of scarcity, right?
Yeah.
I don't have, I don't have, I don't
I
have.
don't have what I need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not available. It's not here. It's not here. It's not
Right.
here. Instead of like,
Yeah.
where are the apples? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's so much we don't understand. I'm trying to grasp more too on the quantum physics level, all this like mind over matter and all this stuff too, which is really fascinating. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's just amazing how powerful our minds are at creating through what we're visualizing, our imagery, the words we use throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's just all tied together so much. And
Yeah.
personal development and coaching, I feel like is so much about that as well. Not just the healing and the being loved, but also the vision, the imagineering that JP says, or the
Yeah.
visions and the words you create that create that experience for yourself and for your future. It's all
Yeah.
bucket of just goodness and
Yeah. My I considered getting a social work degree a couple years ago and then I realized I was already coaching, so I'll do that. Um,
yeah.
but my favorite, so I spent a while defining the difference between like therapy, social work, and coaching. And what I've come to is, and it's actually what I've already done is I wanted to ask people what would be epic, right?
Mm,
Like healing's great. And if we stop there, then we're in this cycle of healing, right?
yeah.
And we can play
Mhm.
that way. Super
Yeah.
cool way to play. Keep healing.
Right.
Don't stop healing, right?
Right. Right.
But but I think coaching exposes us to like this whole new world of
Mm,
what would be epic. Oh, it turns out I'm the source
yeah.
of everything that I want,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Right.
want to play there. Like
Right.
I want to spend my minutes believing in my ability to create and in your ability to create, right?
Beautiful.
The
Yeah.
world that we're craving, you
For
know?
sure. Yeah.
Healing from the world that has been in the
The
past,
brokenness. Yeah.
yeah,
For
is
sure.
like such good
Yeah.
work.
Right.
And let's do this other part too, because we're the adults here. It's our turn
Right.
to create the next world,
Yeah. For
right?
sure. And I feel
So
like they go best when they're together. It's like we don't stop the healing, right? I feel like for me at least, there's always like healing somewhat going on.
yeah,
Someone my husband makes a comment or my kid makes a comment and I feel triggered. I
yeah,
feel like part of that is healing. It's like, okay, self-empathy, pouring on the self-love
yeah,
so I can be gentle. But there's also the word, the creation, the self-creation, the imagery, the visions, the words we use. And I feel like when we have them together, it's just like that's the most powerful, right?
so that's I always talk about the clicking together of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and the feminine
Mm,
is the healing and the
right.
masculine is the
Beautiful.
creating, right?
Yeah.
The making stuff happen. And um the the one inform they inform each other, right?
Yeah,
So
for
aren't we
sure.
craving what we're craving because we haven't had that experience yet,
Hmm.
right? Or we've
Yeah.
had an experience that we want to,
We want to repeat. Yeah.
yeah, have something experience something different now,
Yeah, for sure.
So but our I call them evolutionary events, like the
Hmm.
things that we struggled with or misunderstood about the world, or
Hmm.
beliefs we made that aren't useful now. That was exactly what we needed to happen to be able to create something else in the
Right.
world now with such passion,
Right.
right? if we
for
had all
sure.
our needs met our whole life, we'd just be like, whatevs, you know?
Yeah, nothing exciting there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we're all exactly where we need to be and have everything we need in the moment to work for our next higher self, our next level of being. And no one's ahead and no one's behind. It's like we're all exactly where we need to be, right?
Isn't it awesome? I know. Yeah.
This is awesome.
Well,
I love talking this stuff with you. So yeah.
yes, epic conversation. Thank you so much for
Yeah, thank
spending an hour with
you. It's
me.
been lovely. And I love your energy and your just the space that we have together to talk about these things that I know we're both really passionate about. So thank you, Heather.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk again soon. And thank you
Okay.
so much for the work you do in the world.
Yeah,
You're
you as
changing
well.
it.
It's been fun. We'll continue it.